If you like chiptunes, if you like music from computer games from the 80s, I think you might like some of the music in this video. It contains the tunes from 10 computer games that I wrote back in the 80s, from the mid-80s to the early 90s, and they were all created on the BBC microcomputer. There's a bit of a catch or a snag, shall we say. I wrote these pieces, or at least I programmed these pieces 35 years ago. Now, some of them I know I absolutely did compose. Some of them I know I absolutely did not compose. But some of them I'm not sure whether I actually composed them or not. Now, you might think that's a bit strange, and possibly it is, but if you're 50-ish, shall we say, and go back 30 or 35 years and listen to some music that you wrote back then, do you ever wonder, did I write that? Or how could I possibly have written that? It's probably a little bit like that. I wrote the pieces on the BBC computer. I didn't record the audio. There is a very interesting website if you are interested in chiptunes and computer game music. I think it's called Stairway to Hell, and why ever not? I shall leave a link to it in the description, and that has a list of a massive number of tunes from video games from the era, including mine, or at least some of mine. I may have written more which I've forgotten or I'm not aware of, but if it wasn't for the site, I would have totally forgotten about these pieces of music. You may well think that would have been a good thing. So after each of the pieces of music, I will tell you if I composed it, if I didn't compose it, or if I'm not sure if I composed it or not. And I will give you a reason or some explanation, a little bit of analysis of the music as to why I am unsure. And in this collection, one of the pieces of music I will tell you is my favourite. I may well keep that to last. But there is also one piece which makes me cringe. You may be able to work out which one that is when you hear it. So let's get started. The first piece is from a game called BugEyes 2. So yes, I do believe that is one of the pieces I actually composed. Now, the BBC Micro had 4 sound channels. 3 of them were tonal channels, 1 of them was a noise channel. The programmer wanted the noise channel, presumably for explosions and effects like that, but he also wanted one of the sound channels for zaps and bleeps and whatever. So I essentially only had 2 sound channels to work with. Now, the sound chip in the BBC Micro didn't have any tonal variations, unlike the SID chip, for example, so it was difficult to produce certain types of sounds. We'll see how I attempted to overcome that in some of the other pieces. Let's get on to number 2. This is Boulderdash. Now, I am fairly sure I did not compose this piece of music. It just doesn't contain music lines that I would use, and it has some changes which are quite interesting, but not changes that I would have created. So I'm pretty sure I didn't compose this one. Next is Goal. So you probably recognise the tune, and I didn't compose it. It was written over 100 years ago by John Philip Sousa, who wrote a lot of marching band music, including the Liberty Bell, which was used by Monty Python as their theme tune. Now, I can't remember exactly how this piece of music came about. I'm going to assume that Goal was ported from another computer which used Stars and Stripes Forever as its theme tune, and the publisher said, well, just do Stars and Stripes Forever however you want to do it. So using 2 channels, I perhaps went a little bit overboard, but it is a game, and I thought I would try to create an interesting arrangement. So you can see there are lots of glides and swoops and trills and so on going on in the music. So the next one is indoor sports. Did I compose this or not? I found this pretty tricky. I'm going to say that I didn't compose it. I'm not totally sure I would have written these melodic lines. But there is a section just before it repeats where it hits a note which it holds, and the BBC Micro doesn't really do this very well. So I think if I had been composing this, I would have had some alternative notes in there to complement the BBC sound chip. In fact, a lot of these pieces, as we go through, you will see the pieces that I didn't compose, you will see I had to make some sort of compromise in order to get a similar sort of sound on the BBC chip. So I'm going to say I don't think I wrote that one. Right, the next one is Phantom. This was another tricky one. It starts off with a familiar riff, the dum 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 da 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 da. I don't know who wrote it, it's been around, it's been used in many pieces of music. So it is possibly the sort of thing I would have done, and then it goes into a bit of a tune, and it is the sort of tune I would have written, I think. The melodic lines are something I could see myself writing, and there are a couple of sections which are syncopated, and I love that sort of thing, so I can certainly see myself writing those pieces. However, whether I actually composed this or not, I'm not 100% sure. I would say it's quite likely, but if someone wanted to take credit for it, I wouldn't argue with them. The next one is Loopz with a Z, and there are 2 tunes to go with this, tune A and tune B. So I'm going to say I didn't compose these pieces of music. The melodies don't really sound like the sort of melodies I would have written, although tune B does have a lot of stuff in it which makes me wonder, could I have written this? But on reflection, I would have to say no, I don't think I composed this. This one needs no introduction. So obviously I didn't compose this piece of music. However, it is the piece which I mentioned earlier that makes me cringe every time I hear it. This has got to be the most absolute worst arrangement of the Superman theme ever. The BBC Micro, well, in my opinion, with just 2 music channels, just really was not up to the task of doing justice to the tune. It is a massive orchestral tune with this fantastic fanfare and this sort of drone underneath, and that was the best I could come up with on the BBC. If I'd been asked to write a superhero theme for the BBC, I would have played to its strengths. Unfortunately, this theme exposed all of its weaknesses, or certainly my weaknesses in trying to convert the tune to a BBC format. Let's move on. Summer Olympiad. So this is another tune which was ported from another computer system. I am pretty sure I didn't write this. The initial fanfare type theme just doesn't play well on the BBC Micro. I created a lot of vibrato to try to thicken up the sound. So that is not something I would have done if I'd been writing this tune from scratch. And the penultimate piece is Spy versus Spy. Now again, I think this is a port from another computer. I am almost certain I didn't write this. Spy versus Spy. Now, I'm not familiar with the game, but it sounds exciting, and I don't think this music is particularly exciting, so I would have written something a bit more exciting than that. Sorry, composer, whoever you are. There's also a section which harmonises the main melody line. I wouldn't have created two voices which play in unison like that. Probably not anyway. And if you're wondering what happened to the volume, why it dropped and then went up again, I have to say I have no idea. I don't know if this is actually how the music was, or if there was a problem uploading this to the Stairway website. So let's move on to the last piece, Futureshock. So if you were paying attention at the beginning of the video, you will probably realise that this is one of my favourite pieces of music from that time. And if you've been listening to any of the pieces of electronic music I've been putting up on this channel, I'm going to put a playlist in the description and pop a card up in the corner, just in case you want to see what else I've been doing. There are over 70 pieces of music in the playlist so far. But in particular, I've been creating a series of short pieces called sequences, which tend to have polyrhythms and polymeters in them. I like that sort of thing. So this is essentially polymetric. It has some odd time signatures going on. If you want to listen to it again and try to count the beats, you will see what I mean. So it's a very short sequence which simply gets transposed on each repetition. So the main theme, short though it is, has the section in 7/4 and then in 4/4, and it sort of throws the listener a little bit, which I thought was pertinent and relevant to the theme of the game, or at least the title of the game, Futureshock. So if you remember any of those games from your misspent youth, maybe this was a bit of a trip down memory lane. If you've heard these pieces for the first time, well, now you know what passed as video game music back in the 1980s. So if you have any memories of these games, or indeed any other games on the BBC Micro, or I guess on any other computer platform, let me know in the comments. I do hope you've enjoyed the video. It's not the sort of thing I'm likely to repeat because I don't have any more chiptunes. I do have some chiptune sounds in my music machine over there, so maybe I have a go at creating some modern chiptune music. Who knows? Anyway, that's just by way of saying that the whole channel is not like that. It's mainly about electronic music and synthesizers. If you like that sort of thing, perhaps you'd like to consider subscribing, ringing the bell. Thank you. So YouTube will notify you when I post a new video. And if you have liked the video, then hit the big thumb, because that really does help as well. As always, I really do appreciate you spending time with me, watching my videos, listening to my music. For that, thank you very much indeed. I will see you again very soon. And if you have enjoyed this video, I think you might enjoy these as well.